All right, in this video, I was going to talk a little bit about journaling and how I started my journaling experience. One of the things that my coach started me to do was she started me doing power questions every day. So I thought about looking it up to see kind of what it, and how to explain it. Power questions are thought provoking inquiries that can help you gain clarity, insight, and motivation, and will uh, help you with self reflection and personal growth. So I started doing these probably a couple of years ago, and I started doing them every day. Most of the times I do 5 questions in the morning and 5 questions in the evening. But sometimes if I don't get to the morning, then I'll just do 5 questions in the evening and kind of reflect on my day. So my ones I do is, what do I intend to do today? What are some of the actions I want to take? So that's a good one to start with in the beginning because then you can kind of already put an intention forward for the day. Uh, Sometimes I also do like, what am I feeling? So it helps you kind of process your emotions, like ask yourself, what am I feeling in this moment? And then sit there with it for a while and just kind of breathe through it and see what comes up and then write it down. Because most of the time we don't even pay attention, especially males don't pay attention to what's going on. Most males, I don't know. I mean, some do, some don't, I don't know. But like I know I never used to until she introduced this to me, and I know that when I sit there and express my emotions and really think about it, that it helps me release them because I feel like sometimes once you get stuff down on paper, it helps release it because then it's not flowing around in your head. It's down on the paper, and then you can kind of let it go. So, and then I ask myself, what am I grateful for, and what am I good at? You know, I think really paying attention to what you're grateful for helps you be more peaceful and relaxed. And I think it's really, really a good start to do it. And then at night, kind of the same thing. I'll ask myself, what did I get done today? And then I just kind of write about some of the stuffs I did to get done. Because I try to watch a video, I try to learn something new every day. Like, even if it's an informational video about, like, Dr. Joe Dispenza, just about the present moment, Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, Colby Bryant, anything that kind of motivates me and helps me uh, stay in this, like, growth mindset and just kind of help me get through. I feel like doing this stuff every day helps retrain your brain because sometimes through life, I know in my life, my brain was trained in a bad way for a long time. So I figured that the more you do it, the more you do these questions, the more you're keeping these ideas in your head, and the more you become the person that you want to become. And a couple other ones, I looked up a few extra ones. So, like, one of them is, what am I truly passionate about in life? So, I think that's good to explore because a lot of people don't even ask themselves that question. And so, I think that's a good thing to explore, like what you really like to do. Because I feel like a lot of people lately have been saying, follow your excitement, follow your passion. And maybe, this is me following my passion. My passion is to help people do more, help myself become more. That way I can help others become more. And I just have a passion because I feel like if we could just all get the right information, then we can all do better. But it comes through sometimes you don't have access to that. So one of my goals is to help people become more, or help information become more accessible to more people, because I know not everybody always has the money to spend on stuff. Because I know when I first started my journey, I know that I just kind of did a lot of free stuff just to kind of get it started. And then eventually, as I did more free stuff and started practicing these things, then I realized I started to have a little extra money. And then when I had a little extra money, I took a chance and spent it on some coaching or some courses to learn, or anything that helps me, which basically more is courses and thing, because I feel like you have to continue to grow as a human being, because if we're not growing, we're dying. So another one of the things is, what are my core values and am I living in alignment with them? So, with me, I try to, I don't always do it. I'm not great. I'm trying to get better at it because you just kind of gotta, don't put up with stuff that you're not comfortable with. Like, stand up for your values, stand up for what you believe in. Even sometimes if it's going to rock the boat or if it's, going to make people mad. I mean, sometimes you just get, and then who knows? Sometimes if you just put it out there, maybe somebody will be like, wow, I never thought of it like that. You might actually change somebody or help somebody realize something they never saw before. But if we ain't willing to stand up for our values and become more, then, what are we going to do? And then another question is, what is one small step I can take today to move closer to my goals? So that kind of goes with the action things, with the intentions of what can I do today? Read a book, watch a video, do a meditation, maybe help someone out, give somebody a compliment, or any little thing, journaling. The journaling helps because like there's a thing too that my coach taught me is stream of consciousness, where you just kind of write everything out that's going on in your head, everything that's going out in your mind, just get it all down on paper. Because sometimes, a lot of the times, if it's in here and we don't get it down, then it stays in here and it turns into something more, or it gets worse, or it's something that we it might drive us crazy. Or if you get it out on paper and get it down, then you might start to feel a little bit better. At least I know I do, especially with the emotional stuff. So, and then too, what limiting beliefs am I holding are holding me back, and how can I overcome them? I mean, Jesus, when I was first starting, I always had the thing is, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to say? Can I do this? Are they going to like me? I don't know if I can do it. I've never done anything like this before. There's all those doubts and thoughts in your head, and some people think, well, maybe they're not supposed to be there, but they're there for everybody, I think. And a lot of people these days are calling it, at least Dean Graziosi, and I believe in it too, because they call it the imposter syndrome, where we have those thoughts in our head that tell us, well, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you can't do this. What are people going to think if you do? Are they going to judge you? All those things. And trust me, it used to stop me too. So it's natural to have all these thoughts. It's totally understandable, but you just got to do it anyway. Let's see. How can I turn challenges into opportunities for growth? Kind of like what I was just talking about. Like, we use these ideas and all these thoughts and limiting beliefs as reasons or just things we need to work on. Like, how can I get better? Like, some of the times when I was years ago, I didn't even realize I had these, or they just kind of started coming up, and I was like, wow, man, I really do think that I can do this, or some other ones too. So I feel like there's, instead of looking at like, God, who said it? Dean or Tony, or I think it was Dean, said something about like the biggest problem is that we think that we're not supposed to have any problems. Like, problems are part of life. We're gonna have to deal with them. But the question is, instead of looking at them as problems, let's look at them as challenges and say, hey, let's step up, man. Let's see how we can figure this out and get better. And I feel like that's the thing too, is like, try to grow that, like that I always keep saying, just like Dean says, that Kaizen thing. Try to get a little 1% better every day. So why not look for opportunities? I mean, there's plenty of opportunities in your day to figure it out and maybe change, or maybe do something in a different way. Like, when I worked at Hungry Howie's, I would always like challenge myself to be nicer to the customers, to like handle the situations better, to, if they were upsetting me, to kind of take a couple deep breaths and be like, all right, let's figure this out, and kind of be nice to them. And even when they're being mean, sometimes just be nice, like, be kind. How can I be kind to this person? How can I offer them the best service possible? So even the little stuff helps and adds up. So who inspires me and what qualities do they possess that I admire? It's funny that that one came up because Ella Ringrose, I watched one of her videos today, and she was talking about how the reason why qualities in other people inspire us or we are drawn to them is because we actually have those qualities inside of ourselves. We just don't realize that we do sometimes. So for me, it was like, I think she's right because sometimes I think we all have these qualities inside of us that we see in other people but sometimes I think experiences in our lives or circumstances or maybe those limiting beliefs maybe stop us from totally envisioning and totally believing that we have those qualities inside of us. And then the process just kind of reveals them and brings them out, but sometimes we have to do things to spark them. So, I like to look at it like that too, where, like Wayne Dyer was one of my favorites, Deepak Chopra. And I feel like and the more I realize that, I feel like I do have that peace, that spiritualness inside of me to, kind of let things go, forgive people. I mean, there's a difference between forgiveness and letting people walk all over you. You still have to stand your ground, but it's clear and healthy boundaries. But at the end of the day, just because you forgive somebody doesn't mean you have to like them or talk to them anymore. It just means that you silently forgive them for you, not for them. Because if you hold a grudge against somebody, Wayne Dyer used to always say, and I don't remember who said it, but there was somebody that said it, but I don't remember. But it was like, if you want to seek revenge, you better start by digging two graves, one for them and one for yourself. So for me, that always stuck in my head. Like, yeah, why? What's the use? I mean, holding grudges. I mean, sure, we all do it, but at the end of the day, you're only hurting yourself too. So I kind of like that one. Then I wrote, what am I grateful for in my life? I already kind of went over that one. How can I practice more self care, prioritize my well being? And I feel like the process of doing these questions and journaling is kind of helping your well being by doing these things, because every day, the more you practice it, the more it becomes a habit. So it was hard for me. It was very tough for me in the beginning, too. So if it is tough for you or anybody who wants to start doing this, you just got to keep doing it, though. You don't have to do all these questions every day. I just pick 5 in the morning, 5 in the evening. But at some point, like I said, some days I don't get to all 10. Sometimes I just do the 5 at night if I don't get to the first five. Sometimes if I'm in a hurry or I got to get up late or I got somewhere I got to go and I kind of don't get to them. But I try to do 5 in the morning, 5 at night. So always keep those in mind. Always try to do self care, meditation. Maybe even treat yourself nice and get a massage if you can afford it, or acupuncture, or anything that kind of helps you de-stress, relax, anything. Self-care is very important and it helps us relax and stress. This is a good one. If fear was not a factor, what would I do differently in my life? Wow. I never really thought of that one. I just read that for the first time. So, and again, this was one of the things right here is I'm beginning not to have my fear. I'm beginning to say, hey, let's go. F it, let's go. And let's get it done. Let's see what happens. And like I was saying today earlier when I was having a conversation with somebody, is instead of wondering about what's going to happen or wondering if you can do it, wondering if you can't. And Matthew McConaughey used to always say too in one of his books, Green Lights, was I have to figure out if I can do it. And that's the thing is at least me personally, I used to sit there and wonder, can I get this done? What might happen? And lately I've just been saying, you know what, let's just do it and see what happens. There's going to be some positives, there's going to be some negatives, but you know what? We've been so trained to believe that, oh my God, the negatives are so bad. It's the end of the world. Someone might not like what we had to say. Somebody might think we're not cute, not smart, overweight. I don't know any of those things. Like, there's always going to be somebody that's going to say something negative. There's always going to be somebody that doesn't like you. but you just got to be you anyway and gravitate towards the people that do like what you have to say, and then just kind of go from there. So for me, and like the thing too is like failure's inevitable, and I've said it before, failure is part of the process of success. And I remember when I was in at Oakland University in a class, we read a book that said, it talked about it would be better if you failed faster, because the faster you fail, the more you'll learn. And for me, that was one of the big parts of me when I was getting started. I was so afraid of failure. I was so afraid of not being able to get this done. I was so afraid of what everybody was going to think, and then I just said, hey, you know what? I'm just going to be me and just go with it and see what happens. And you never know until you at least give it a shot. And sometimes you get sometimes you don't do it right. Sometimes you're going to mess up. Sometimes it's going to be great. Sometimes it's not. So for me, it's like, why not take that shot and see what happens? Because you never know who you're going to help. You never know, by being human. We're all human. By being imperfect and showing that there's opportunities for growth. So I really like that. So I guess this is kind of me hoping I lose my fear. But I don't know if fear totally goes away all the time. I think like that saying goes is, courage is not the absence of fear. It's doing it in even when you're afraid. So I think that's a good thing. It's just to, even when you are afraid, just do it. So, and then let's see. So it says these power questions are designed to stimulate deep reflection, encourage positive change, and inspire action. Take the time to journal or meditate on these questions and gain valuable insights and propel yourself more into your personal development journey. So for me, that's kind of what it is. Like, you got to start somewhere. There's things we can do that will help the progress. And I believe that these are some of the questions in journaling. And what else did I write here? So I like this too, and know what you want. Like, what are you looking for in life? Where are you headed? What are your goals? I mean, again, everybody, or sometimes people will say like, what are goals? Like me, I used to never set goals because I was always like, oh, I don't think I can achieve them, so why write them down? And then I began to realize that sometimes you just got to take an aim. You got to take your shot. You hit what was it? You hit 100. You don't hit 100% or of the targets that you don't shoot at or something. Dan, I wish I remember that quote. It was a good one. But anyway, if you don't take a shot, if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. So it's better to take an aim at something and then miss it. Well, then you readjust. Instead of thinking of whether or not you're capable of reaching a goal, why not set a gigantic goal and see if you can? So for me, it's just, sometimes I write stuff down on my board, and you know, and then I erased it. It used to be all full, but I erased it because I was gonna try something and it didn't work. So I got to start writing on it again. But at least you have an aim at something and a goal, and know where you want to go. Because a lot of people, like, I've been taught, and I used to do the same thing. I used to always focus on things I didn't want. And it's funny because, and the research shows, if you ask people, a lot of people focus more on what they don't want. And Wayne Dyer and other people used to always say, don't be surprised if you focus on what you don't want, if that's what you continue to keep getting. And over the last year or so, a couple of years, after I realized these things, and I'm trying to stop, I stopped talking about what I don't want to happen. And now I'm starting to try to focus more on what I want to happen and where I want to go. So, I want to help other people realize that you can start from nowhere and figure out where you want to go. You can start from nothing. You can overcome your limiting beliefs. You can overcome the thoughts in your head, that imposter syndrome, that I'm not good enough. You can overcome anything if you really put the will to it to want to make that change. But you have to realize that sometimes it's not going to be pretty. Sometimes it's going to take a while. Sometimes you're going to take two steps forward, one step back. Sometimes you're going to have to grind it out, and sometimes it's going to be easy. But you have to remember that it's part of the process. Keep moving forward. Don't give up on yourself. and just, enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey of this whole thing instead of focusing on the destination. And one last quote is something about someone said something about becoming a millionaire that it struck me is that it's not about the money you make, it's not about the end game, it's not about what you get out of it. It's the person you become in the process of learning how to become a millionaire that is way more valuable than actually the money that you get. So I know it sounds crazy, and I don't know, I'm not there yet, but it intrigues me to think that there is something more to that than I used to believe or even knew about. So, but again, here's some help, here's some things, here's some ideas for journaling. It's really helped me in my life. And I'm telling you, the more you write stuff down, the more you get stuff on your head, out of your head, the more you put an aim and focus on what you want to do, have an intention, be grateful for things. Like all these questions are really good things to look at within yourself and answer and get down on paper because it might just be the start of transformation or change and just 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 you know be patient with yourself, enjoy the process, and start somewhere because you never get where you want to go unless you start.